In this video, we're going to learn how to build responsive table components by using a singular cell component with different type of variant properties. So to do this, I have existing components built out like checkbox, radios, avatars, badges. And we are going to basically nest those inside of this component. So let's start from scratch. And I'm going to start by typing out data. And this is going to form the basis of our cell. We're going to give it an auto layout, Shift A. We are going to make the horizontal gap between items. Let's make that 4. Let's leave 10 and 10. You can customize that with whatever you want. We'll give it a fill color background of white, and we're going to make sure that this is aligning to the left. So now we have our cell. What we're going to do from here is give it a name, and then we are going to make it a component. So up here, create component, you click that. Now we have our cell component. So this is where it gets interesting. We are going to now load in the different components within this component. So we're going to take this checkbox and we're going to drag it in here. You can create your own existing component and then drag it in. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to use what I had already pre-built. So now we have this component, which is a checkbox. We're going to select it. And we are going to go to this layer section and make sure it's layer. Make sure it's not checkbox. Make sure it says layer. And now we click the add boolean property, create boolean property. And so it says show checkbox. So it remembers the name, which is checkbox. We're just going to remove show, and we're going to make this false. So now, as you see this, I'm just going to drag out an instance of the cell component. And now you see I can toggle on and off the checkbox. We're going to go ahead and actually do that to the text layer as well. So we're going to go to layer and we're going to create property, and we're going to call this, let's call this text. And we're going to have that as true. So now the default cell shows the data by default. And of course you could come in and customize this if you just wanted the checkbox or the text or the checkbox and the text. Okay, so now I'm going to fast forward through adding the other components to this cell and assigning them different Boolean properties to hide them and show them when appropriate. Okay, now we are going to actually duplicate this. So Command D, so I'm duplicating the text. Notice it has this text property assigned to it. We're going to detach that. And this is going to be our header. So we can toggle that on and off when we need a header to the column. We're going to make this, let's make it bold, and let's make it like some type of darker gray. And so now we have the header. I'm going to select that, and we're going to follow the process by creating a property. And this is going to be called header with a lowercase h. That doesn't matter. It's more just up to your discretion. So now we're going to do this one more time. We're going to duplicate that. We're going to detach. We're going to then assign this. We're going to call this number. So I'm going to type in 000. I'm going to make sure that this is aligning to the right. And now we are going to create a property, and this is going to be called number. And this is, of course, going to be false. Okay, so now we have this building block of a cell value. So now if I duplicate that out, it's also here in the assets panel because it is a component, so I could just drag it as well. But we have this, and now we're going to start duplicating it to create a column layout. So I duplicated it once. I'm going to click Command D to do that a bunch more. And now we have everything. I'm going to take this first one, and we're going to toggle off text, and we're going to toggle on header. All right, that looks good. I'm going to select everything, create an auto layout around it, and change the space between to be 0. And then I'm going to select everything within that parent frame, and we're going to make sure that that is filling the container. Okay, so that looks good. We have our column. Beautiful. So we could now create different variants as I was kind of doing here, but for the sake of just building everything from a single cell, we'll just keep this as a non-component. But I do want to give it a border bottom, so we have the line in between. So let's just make this like a gray type of color. like a light gray. That looks fine. And we're going to make sure that this is just bottom. That looks good. Now we're going to duplicate that out, and we'll click Command D, do that a bunch of times. And now this is where we can start configuring things. So I'm just going to click and drag. You could also select the parent container, click enter, and deselect the first one. And now this is going to be, we're going to add a radio to this one. This one, we are going to just have it be a badge. So we're going to get rid of the text. This one, we are going to select everything, and we are going to make this a number and get rid of the text. So now I'm going to override the aligning to the left. We're going to have this aligned to the right. We're also going to select this one and align it to the right because it is a number. It's easier to parse this way. So now we have our number variant. Let's create, what else? We could do this as an avatar with text. Notice how it's pushing everything down. So this is very important. You want to make sure that this cell, we're relying on auto layout to set the height, basically based upon what is inside of it, because it's hugging it. As you see here, what we want to do is just hard code in a height value. So we're going to type in 40. So that's really important. So we're just going to delete that, and we're going to try over again. Let's move this one over, click enter, deselect. Now we're going to add the avatar, and now it is conforming to the height of everything else, so it doesn't have that awkward misalignment. Okay, so let's do one more. What could this be? Checkbox, and just have the checkbox. And we're going to take this column and make sure that looks like this. This first one actually isn't going to say header. It's going to just be the checkbox as well. So that looks good. So now we're going to select everything, create an auto layout around it, and make sure this is set to 0 here, that space in between. And then we're going to click enter again, and we're going to make sure that everything is filling the container. And let's see if this is responsive. Okay, so now it is responsive. This checkbox we'll just add here. And now you notice everything has the same width. I want this checkbox to have a min width. So we're going to go up here, and we're going to assign, or rather a max width, and we're going to assign, let's say 40. Let's actually make that 36. Okay, so that looks good enough. So now that's going to stay constrained as everything else is growing in width for responsive layout. So now you could go ahead and create a component and call it table, or you could just keep this individual cell as the one component that you want and as the building block to creating tables very quickly. I think it can be limiting when you try to create a component for every single permutation of a table. So I could call this like table with checkbox and badge or something. And then I have another one where basically I have to go ahead and detach this, and maybe we don't have the checkbox, and I create a component, call this like table, and create variants. But I think that might be overkill sometimes. So anyways, this covers how to create a complex responsive table with a single cell variant with different boolean properties to toggle on and off components. I hope that's helpful.